Acute pulmonary edema is a cardiovascular and respiratory emergency characterized by the sudden flooding of the pulmonary interstitial tissues and alveoli with plasma-derived fluids exceeding the drainage capacity of the pulmonary lymphatic system. The etiologies are diverse and can be cardiac or extracardiac in origin. There are two distinct types of acute pulmonary edema: cardiogenic or hemodynamic pulmonary edema, caused by an increase in pulmonary capillary pressure, and lesional edema result from a damage to the alveolar-capillary membrane. How to diagnose a patient with acute pulmonary edema? First, clinical presentation. The patient may have chronic conditions such as heart disease, kidney failure, or chronic lung disease. The main symptom is dyspnea or shortness of breath, which often appears suddenly, especially at night. Dyspnea may be accompanied by orthopnea or difficulty breathing while lying down, or tachypnea, defined by rapid breathing, as well as cyanosis or severe coughing. During clinical examination, especially pleuropulmonary examination, rapid breathing, cyanosis, and sign of respiratory distress such as intercostal retractions and abdominal breathing can be observed. These respiratory signs can be detected during the inspection. Crackling roars, pulmonary sounds are often present and progressively increased, although wheezing may be heard in some cases, like asthma-like pulmonary edema. The patient might present with tachycardia or rapid heartbeat and blood pressure that can be normal, low or high. Auscultation or the listening to the heart may be disturbed by crackles, but signs of an underlying heart disease such as murmur or gallop rhythm can be detected. There are some severe signs that should not be ignored, starting with hemodynamic signs like low systolic blood pressure below 19 or shock state characterized by cold, pale extremities, mottled skin, and decreased urine output, or what we call oliguria. Respiratory signs like inability to speak, oxygen saturation below 85, and signs of respiratory exhaustion including slow breathing, temporary breathing cessation, and hypercapnia or excessive CO2 in the blood. Finally, neurological signs like altered consciousness such as confusion or drowsiness, indicating that the brain is not receiving enough oxygen, which is an alarming sign. Jump into paraclinical examinations. The first examination is ECG, which may show sinus tachycardia. It can also help identify the underlying cause, such as atrial fibrillation or acute coronary syndrome, or signs of left ventricle hypertrophy. Next, chest X-ray, which shows signs of alveolar interstitial syndrome, the interstitial edema caused by vascular redistribution toward the lung apices, an early sign related to pulmonary vein hypertrophy and the presence of curly lines or the thickening of vascular networks. Alveolar edema characterized by cloudy, poorly defined, confluent, symmetrical opacities, often with butterfly wing pattern, though they can sometimes be asymmetrical. The chest X-ray may also reveal pleural effusions, but they are usually small in volume. Cardiac silhouette varies depending on the underlying heart disease. The X-ray might show cardiomegaly if left ventricle failure is present. Blood gas analysis might reveal hypoxemia, hypo or hypercapnia, and acidosis if the acute pulmonary edema is severe. Echocardiography is generally difficult to perform in this context. However, if performed, it may show signs supporting the underlying cause, such as left ventricle systolic or diastolic dysfunction and obstruction to the left ventricle filling. Finally, biological tests may be requested to help guide the diagnosis. In case of uncertainty, a blood urogram, renal function test, a complete blood count or CBC, and troponin levels can be very useful in the diagnosis orientation in ruling out any differential diagnosis. Speaking of differential diagnosis, several other conditions that must be considered for proper treatment guidance should be ruled out before starting any treatment. Lesional pulmonary edema typically occurs rapidly within less than a week and present with radiological opacities visible in both lungs without a direct link to cardiac pathology and difficulty in properly oxygenating the blood, known as hypoxemia. This type of pulmonary edema is caused by damage to the alveolar-capillary membrane, which serves as the barrier between the pulmonary alveoli and the blood capillaries. Such damage can result from severe infections, chemical intoxications, or shock situations leading to systemic failure. Additionally, other causes must be considered, such as pulmonary embolism, which occur when a blood clot blocks an artery in the lungs, and cardiac tamponade, which is a medical emergency where fluids accumulates around the heart. Both conditions can also cause symptoms similar to acute pulmonary edema, particularly severe respiratory distress. Furthermore, a severe asthma attack can mimic the signs of pulmonary edema, as it leads to airway narrowing, causing a sensation of suffocation. Finally, pneumonias and decompensated chronic respiratory failure should not be overlooked. These conditions often affect patients with a history of lung disease when the lungs can no longer compensate for progressive dysfunction. There are so many etiologies and triggering factors of acute pulmonary edema, and they are essential to understand in order to adapt the appropriate treatment. The primary causes of cardiogenic pulmonary edema are related to heart disease, including all forms of cardiopathy and other conditions including hypertensive crisis, which is a sudden increase in blood pressure, mitral stenosis or the narrowing of the mitral valve, acute coronary syndrome, as well as arrhythmias or other conditions disorders all can be the causes of acute pulmonary edema. Triggering factors are also elements that can worsen an underlying heart conditions and lead to pulmonary edema. This includes excess salt, which can permit water retention, increasing the load on the heart, stopping treatment such as diuretics and antihypertensive drugs, which can lead to heart decompensation. Renal insufficiency, particularly when there is a fluid overload, can cause excessive water retention, leading to pulmonary edema. Bronchial or pulmonary infections can weaken the body and interfere with the heart function. Certain medications such as non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs and corticosteroids can trigger pulmonary edema. And finally, other factors like fever, infections, anemia, and thyrotoxicosis can increase cardiac output, potentially overloading an already weakened heart. I hope this video was helpful to you, and don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. We will discuss the management and treatment of pulmonary edema in the next video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.